The best WrestleMania moments are the ones that evoke genuine joy from us, whether we're wide-eyed kids or cynical old fogies. WrestleMania 35 hit us squarely in the feels when it gave us 3 world title changes that the majority clamored for, with the most heartstring tugging being Kofi Kingston reaching the top of wrestling's Mount Everest. When he dropped Daniel Bryan with Trouble in Paradise to become WWE champion, we couldn't help but be happy for one of the company's most unsung stars. The majority of Kingston's 11-plus year run on WWE's main roster positioned him as the latter-day Tito Santana, the reliable workhorse who can have a good match with virtually anybody and is an affable enough good guy, but doesn't quite reach the apex for reasons that might simply be intangible. But when 2019 rolled around, that sentiment went straight out of the window when people decided it was high time that the cheerful and talented Kingston get his big moment. Let's take a further look at the man whose decorated career as a WWE superstar never truly got its due until this year, when the humble hero among us ascended to an unforgettable WrestleMania moment. I'm Sam from Cultaholic.com, and here are 10 things you didn't know about Kofi Kingston. Join us! Number 10. Holding court. As a young child, Kingston emigrated from his native Ghana to the United States, where he and his family settled into the general Boston area. And in his teenage years, he attended Winchester High School, where he pursued athletics. A wrestling fan in his youth, Kingston took up the amateur equivalent and was strong enough to inadvertently break the leg of an opponent who just happened to be a childhood friend during a 1998 state semi-final. But his first love from a sporting standpoint was always basketball. Growing up in Boston, Kingston idolized the legendary Larry Bird and played the sport at high school level for Winchester High. But for Kingston, who possessed the breakaway speed needed to get around defenders, he, by his own admission, was done in by having smaller hands. This made ball handling difficult, and he adds that he had no jump shot either. Better suited for wrestling, Kingston developed his athletic base on the mat, which would serve him well in his future career. Number 9. Fancy moves. A number of modern professional wrestlers have some sort of background in mixed martial arts, be it wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, or otherwise. Kingston, as noted, possesses a background in wrestling, but he added onto that base during his WWE career. Former WWE champion Dave Bautista had a trainer named Maurice Crump that sometimes went on the road with the company. And Kingston spotted him one day demonstrating some moves backstage, and that's when he took an interest in capoeira. Capoeira is an Afro-Brazilian martial art that incorporates rhythm and dance into its techniques and relies on perpetual movement. MMA veterans such as Anderson Silva, Thiago Santos, and Junior Dos Santos have extensive backgrounds in the style. Kingston, being the avid gamer that he is, also recognized the style as being used by Eddie Gordo from the Tekken series, and he asked Crump if he could teach him some capoeira moves. Crump speaks highly of Kingston's upside in capoeira, noting how the WWE veteran's incredible agility gives him an advantage when it comes to throwing leaping strikes. Number 8. Test your might. As if his appearances on Up Up Down Down weren't enough of an indicator, Kingston is a huge fan of video gaming, which is a prerequisite for being a professional wrestler in 2019. Brock Lesnar, for example, is a wizard when it comes to Q-Bert. Being a child of the 1980s, Kingston has had many years to acquaint himself with the endless stream of console games, and his love of the medium spans for well over 3 decades. But which video game is his all-time favorite? In 2013, Kingston ranked his 10 favorite games ever, and his number 1 was the collective franchise of Mortal Kombat. Specifically though, his favorite from the long-lasting series is the timeless Mortal Kombat 2 for Super Nintendo. Appropriately, when Kingston won the Up Up Down Down Championship in May, he defeated reigning champion Jack Gallagher in a game of Mortal Kombat 3, which is akin to defending the WWE title against Undertaker in a Buried Alive match. Some of Kofi's other favorites include Street Fighter 2, the Madden franchise, and WCW NWO Revenge, which has just made some of you from a certain age group smile and nod. Number 7. Fast track to success. Kingston graduated from Boston College with a business degree in 2003 and was working in advertising for office supplies company Staples when he decided to pursue professional wrestling. Wrestling under the name of Kofi Nahage Kingston, one of his first opponents was Kid McCarthy, the future husband of Sasha Banks. Kingston spent much of the year on the indies, primarily in the New England area, and wasn't even 1 year into his career when he signed a developmental deal with WWE in September 2006. In fact, not even 6 months had elapsed since the time of his first match that he caught WWE's figurative eye. And before he knew it, he was being assigned to form a developmental group Deep South Wrestling, where his first wave of opponents included MVP, TJ Wilson or Tyson Kidd, and Claudio Castagnoli or Cesaro. Now there are some hidden gems for the WWE network. Number 6, Opposites Attract. But before Kofi could begin his developmental run in WWE, he worked a dark match in Bridgeport, Connecticut on August 21st, 2006, the night after SummerSlam. The match was a tag team bout and the opponents were regular Raw brand duo Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch. Opposite them were Kingston with less than 1 year's experience as an active wrestler and a man who had about a year or so more on him inside the ring. And like Kingston, he also hails from the New England area. But this wrestler is hardly the kind-hearted and benevolent individual that Kingston is. He wrestled that night under real name Tommaso Whitney, but as the first name indicates, you know him better as the black-hearted Tommaso Ciampa, who had previously appeared on WWE programming as Muhammad Hassan's attorney. Kingston was offered a developmental gig shortly after the match, while Ciampa earned one the following February. However, Ciampa was released from OVW later that summer while Kingston was preparing for the jump to the big time. Maybe Ciampa would have made a more lasting impact had he just thrown Kingston into the entrance set after the match. Number 5, Jamaican My Name. There are two voices that we know Kofi by, his natural speaking voice and the put-on accent that his earlier wrestling days were defined by. Vignettes hyping Kingston's debut aired on the ECW brand in late 2007, portraying him as a friendly, mellow native of Jamaica, complete with a Jamaican accent. To those who didn't know his life story, there was little reason to think that he was simply a man from Ghana playing a character from a country whose capital just so happened to be his surname. According to Kofi, the inspiration for the character came from his enjoyment of a Damian Marley CD called Welcome to Jamrock. During his formative training years, Kofi, with Marley's voice ringing in his ears, cut a practice promo in front of a class in the accent. And it got a great response, so he went with it. But as time wore on, Kingston heard from both Jamaicans who found his voice inauthentic, and from Ghanaians who didn't like him, claiming a different heritage than that of his own. But by 2009, as we all know, he stopped putting on the voice, though the Kingston surname remains. Number 4, Boss Battle. A wrestling-related flight, a little bit of alcohol, and a physical confrontation with the man that can fire you at will. Was this the infamous plane ride from hell from the year 2002? Nope, this little story takes place 8 years after the Raw brand's Mid-Atlantic fiasco. And it's far less the stuff of legend, but it's quite curious in and of itself. This is about the time that Kofi Kingston stood up to Vince McMahon. Chris Jericho told the story of a flight that he, Kingston, McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and John Cena took to Phoenix for a WrestleMania 26 press conference. The quintet drank Jack Daniels and played cards to pass the time, and after they landed, when Kingston got up to leave, McMahon, according to Jericho, casually remarked to him, "Maybe you'll get over one of these days." Kingston was apt to let it go, but Jericho told him off the plane that he needed to stand up to Vince or he'd lose the boss's respect. Kingston, full of vigor, re-entered the plane, exchanged tense words with Vince, and the two ended up wrestling on the floor of the plane. McMahon got up laughing seconds later, his mood apparently dictated by a little too much Jack, and cooler heads prevailed from there. Number 3, Royal Entertainment. One of Kingston's hallmarks is his ability to conjure up new ways to avoid being eliminated in Royal Rumble matches. And it's a highly anticipated part of the annual bout ever since he first walked on his hands all the way back in 2012. Since then, he's used office chairs for pogo sticks, leapt from audience barriers, been vaulted in by his New Day teammates, everything short of landing in Dalsim's yoga float. Kingston's clever elimination escapes are not his only impressive Rumble-related note. As of 2019, he currently sits tied for second place in most consecutive Royal Rumble matches competed in with Dolph Ziggler. Both men have been in every 30-man and 40-man January Royal Rumble from 2009 onward, giving each man 11 in a row. The all-time record is held by Kane, who competed in 13 Rumble matches in a row from 1999 through 2011. Kingston's streak would be in jeopardy should he somehow hold on to the WWE title come the 2020 Rumble, but if that were to happen, he might want to think about willing his elimination avoidance spot to a rightful heir. Number 2, OneonOne. Unquestionably, the apex of Kingston's career came on April 7th, 2019, when he became WWE Champion for the first time in his career, defeating Daniel Bryan in an emotionally charged match at WrestleMania 35. The moment was special for numerous reasons, aside from it simply being Kofi's first world title win. Being the first African-born world champion in WWE is another notable achievement, but getting past the win itself, the very match against Bryan is historic for a somewhat surprising reason. The battle with Bryan marked Kingston's first ever one-on-one singles match at any WrestleMania. In a 10 WrestleMania stretch between 25 and 34, Kingston wrestled in 2 multi-man Money in the Bank ladder matches, a 6-man tag, an 8-man tag, a 12-man tag, was relegated to Battle Royals twice, competed in 2 multi-team tag title matches, and didn't wrestle on either 29 or 33. So many times Kingston was lumped in with the wrestlers that WWE felt compelled to find something for on WrestleMania Sunday. And in 2019, he was anything but part of the secondary cast. And number 1, team player. Although it took him forever to get that one-on-one WrestleMania singles bout, better late than never one would say, Kingston's career to that point was still filled with many positives. Primarily, his 4+ year association with Big E and Xavier Woods, The New Day, will be what he's forever remembered for. And they'll be likely to enter the WWE Hall of Fame as a trio on some distant day. Kingston has had other partners in his career, CM Punk, Evan Bourne and R-Truth come to mind, and they've all helped him make history. As of September 2018, Kingston set the WWE record for most combined days as any form of tag team champion, reaching a new high mark of 954 days. The previous record holder was Billy Gunn at 953, who sat mere weeks ahead of Mr. Fuji at 932. As of this video, Kingston reigns as a tag team champion via the Freebird rule due to Big E and Woods defeating Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan, so Kingston's record mark only increases. As of this video's recording on August 7th, 2019, Kingston sits at 997 combined days with Tag Team Gold, a mark that may perhaps never be broken. For Kofi Kingston, between his ascent to the world title and this accolade, he's assured a legacy in WWE history that could never be duplicated.
Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you like what we do here at Cultaholic, you can check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/Cultaholic. And no matter what you do, don't ever forget to hit subscribe and join us.